Back here in CBS Sports HQ, week 2 of the college football season in the books, and we have a shift in the latest Heisman Trophy odds. We're going to go through some of the risers and fallers after week 2. Some new favorites forming at the top, as you see here. That includes Garrett Nussmeier, John Mateer, Carson Beck. The preseason favorite Arch Manning fell after a rough debut, but after a 5-touchdown performance against San Jose State, Manning back in that 5th spot. Ahead of him, though, at plus 1,100, Oregon Ducks quarterback Dante Moore. We're going to talk through him as we get set to work through some of these risers and fallers of the Heisman race after week 2. Let's say hello to Mackenzie Brooks, Chip Patterson with us. Chip, I'll start with you. Let's begin with some of the names who made the most ground after week 2 rather, forming into some favorites at the top here.
Yeah, I think that when we look at this group at the top, it's important to look at John Mateer, somebody who all three of us have been buzzing about since the beginning of the season. And what did he do in that game against Michigan? He went out and showed you all the moxie. He showed you all the dude. He showed you the off-platform throws, getting it done with his legs, getting touchdowns, throwing and rushing. And for Mateer, it is going to be those hero ball moments that can become Heisman Trophy moments. Now, there is a lot to clean up because we do know that he had the interception, and we do know that he had another pass that could have been intercepted. And sometimes a little bit of that swashbuckling attitude can get you in trouble. But when we think about what it's going to take to win over Heisman voters who are going to be looking at a quarterback who might not be competing for a national championship, you do need to have that little extra pizzazz. And Mateer did it against a good defense on a big stage. So we were very bullish on him coming into the year. No, it is not a surprise at all. He finds himself near the top of the odds board.
Yeah, you know, some people told you to get on him in July.
They did.
Some people also told you to get on him before that Michigan game.
Some
people did say that in media. Not going to name names here, but yeah, I'm a John Mateer truther. I'll be the first to say that. I will say that at FanDuel, you can also get probably the best price on him right now. So I think it's still worth buying in on if you haven't gotten there. It's funny because I think of Jackson Arnold, who just didn't thrive in that same exact system. And you can see like Jackson Arnold's odds being so hurt by a guy like John Mateer. So obviously I'm pumped to see him basically at the top of the leaderboard here. Stunned to see Garrett Nussmeier at plus 900. He is so off pace to hit the stat thresholds that he needs. He had 2 touchdowns. He needed like 400 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns in this cupcake game he just had against Louisiana State to be on pace for this award. So the math of it really doesn't make sense to me that he's plus 900. I think he should at least be even with the other guys here. But I always say it's what's your team's expectations? Are you going to exceed your team expectation? That's half the equation. The other half is hitting the stat threshold. This is a guy that needs probably 35-plus passing touchdowns because he doesn't run. He's literally nowhere near on pace to hit that by the end of the season.
All I'm hearing here is that she's giving you one more chance to take John Mateer. That's really all I'm hearing at plus 1,000. Let's go ahead and get to a name that maybe some people are just hearing about for the first time. Moore, right? Oregon Ducks quarterback Dante Moore began the season with odds of plus 2,000, has steadily moved his way up the board after 2 solid games to start the season, Chip.
Yeah, and we got to look. Dillon Gabriel maybe didn't overwhelm you with his tools or his talent, but his experience in Will Stein's system at Oregon allowed him to put up absolutely ridiculous numbers and hit some of those stat thresholds. And Dante Moore is going to have the same thing. I just think that Moore has benefited from spending last year behind Gabriel and being able to learn this system so that now when it's time to go, he knows exactly where to go with the ball. He is on time. And there are enough weapons with this Oregon offense to think that, yes, going and putting up 69 points isn't just something that has to do with Oklahoma State being horrendous. It's something that they're going to be able to come close to even in Big Ten play, starting against Northwestern here in week 3. So as Oregon continues to just be an absolute war machine offensively, we are going to continue to see Dante Moore's stock rise. And so right now might be a good time to buy in because there's a showdown coming up at the end of the month in Happy Valley against a quarterback who is honestly disappointed. If Dante Moore outplays Drew Aller, if Oregon goes into Penn State and comes out with a victory, Moore's going to be up in that Nussmeier kind of range. I love what I've seen from him, even taking into consideration how the competition has been a little bit lesser. Moore's been on time, and he's been very efficient.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more here. This is an act now on this type of guy. This is when you want to buy in, because although Oklahoma State isn't the best team since sliced bread and Northwestern certainly isn't either, they're respectable brand names, right? So it's like that perfect niche of, yes, lesser competition, but still respectable. And if you're stat padding during games like he just did this past weekend and stat padding in this Northwestern game, your odds are just going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And then you look to that Happy Valley game, like Chip was saying, even if it's a quote-unquote good loss, I don't think he's going to skyrocket back up the board. Like, this is 1,000% the time to buy in on Dante Moore if you want to get in on that ticket, because obviously if they beat Penn State, it's going to go basically odds-on favorite, I would assume here. But again, even if it's a good loss, he still has the stats. He's far more on pace than a guy like Garrett Nussmeier right now to hit a stat threshold. All
right, sounds like a play to me. But did you guys see that? All of their quacked up to be. Whose idea was that? I love that. Shout out to whoever had that idea. All right, let's get to some other risers. That includes Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza and USC's Jayden Maiava. They're rising up after 2-0 starts of the season. However, they haven't really played anybody just yet. Maiava is playing this week on CBS against Purdue with a chance, though, Chip, to prove what he can do on the big stage.
Yeah, America's most watched network, the network of stars, a chance to be able to take your Heisman campaign through the roof. You can do, Jayden Maiava, what Dante Moore just did with Oregon and go and put a crooked number on Purdue and really start to change the narrative around USC. USC enters the season, we're talking 7-5, 8-4 kind of expectations. But what if USC is the fourth best team in the Big Ten? What if USC is a legitimate college football playoff contender? Because Lincoln Riley told us at Big Ten Media Days that Jayden Maiava gave him a lot that he liked, but also some things that he didn't, which were fixable. He was 3-1 as a starter at the end of the year, and his only mistakes were really the interceptions. He's cleaned that up, granted against lesser competition, Missouri State and Georgia Southern, but those wide receivers are looking good. The offense is looking terrifying, and Jayden Maiava, with even more time to be able to understand Lincoln Riley's offense, looks like he's starting to hit the peak of his powers. So I really, really like what I've seen from USC. I'm fascinated to get them some real tests now that they're getting into Big Ten play. And this is a Trojans team and a quarterback in Maiava that I'm absolutely tracking in these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is now the sleeper right now is Maiava. Like John Mateer, sure, back in the beginning of the season or in the summer, that was the sleeper pick. Now that he's at the top of the board, this is the guy, Maiava, that I think you want to buy in on. He has 7 touchdowns. That's far more than most of the people at the top of this board. I'm stunned that his odds are as long as they are here. And at least he played an FBS school. Mendoza played an FCS school, so it's like a little bit more respect there. But this is such the perfect storm of you have the stats you're on pace for, and you have the storyline, right? This is a guy, he will be the reason if this team has success, it's because of him and on the back of him. You look at other guys, maybe like a Drew Aller, like he has so much talent around him, especially his running back room. It's hard to say that this was his success specifically, but for USC and for Maiava, he is in that perfect storm right now to be able to climb up the board.
And he gets to do it on a big stage, 3:30 kickoff on CBS. Gary Danielson's last lap, right, with CBS. Going back to his alma mater and Purdue, it's going to be a good one. Lastly, let's go ahead and touch on DJ Lagway of UF, who falls after a brutal Gators loss to USF. Does he have a good chance to come back from this, though, Mackenzie, considering their tough schedule ahead?
No, not at all. There's too many other quarterbacks. Think about all these quarterbacks we just put in that didn't lose to South Florida, right? And then you got guys like Jeremiah Smith. Like, I think there's a really good chance the quarterbacks start to eat each other alive here. And then you see a guy like Jeremiah Smith maybe rise from the ashes, kind of like what we saw with the Travis Hunter. So do not buy in on DJ Lagway, even though he's 50-1 or whatever the number is. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, Jordan, cash that out. I don't even want to stare at it. I don't even want to look at it. Cash it out for 10 cents because it ain't happening. I've been sold a bill of good about DJ Lagway for 2 years now. We just have not seen it consistently. I'm not going to invest in that.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it as the Seminole on-set. Guys, always great to see you talking some risers and fallers of the Heisman Trophy race. You can get more Heisman talk and some of the best bets when it comes to the Heisman Trophy race and college football in general on the Early Edge podcast. It's a daily Sportsline betting podcast. All you got to do is scan that QR code on your screen and watch and listen wherever you get your podcasts.